Hello, Mbulabunaka, Namaskar, and welcome to Current Affairs. I'm Tukini Cama with you here, and thanks for taking the time out to join me on my TV this evening. Current Affairs, of course, is an opportunity to look into our picks of the week as far as what is hot, what is current, and on the news, and what is relevant, especially for you and I. What are people watching? What are people talking about? That we will do in the last segment of the show. But we begin, of course, with our special guest today, Dr. Chone Hawea. Dr. Chone Hawea is no stranger to us, people of Fiji. And in the region, he has been a doctor, worked in the medical profession since 2004, and he has also been taking care of people's limbs as far as diabetes is concerned, been a surgeon for a good part of his career, and he has now moved on to have his own private practice and also works in NGOs. He came into prominence on the local scene, and of course the media being what it is, has had a lot of traction. When he first came on a few years back at the beginning of the COVID pandemic here in Fiji, when the government initiative was, of course, put in place to actually vaccinate us, the people of Fiji, and he made his name when after the government of the day, the Bainimarama government, made it mandatory that we all be vaccinated. And that's where Dr. Chone Hawea hit the headlines. Why? He made it his personal crusade to inform us why it is not ethical to be mandated. And we have him on the show. We're very, very thankful that he's taken the time to come and join us on Current Affairs. Doctor, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And of course, we'll go into the other parts that you have been involved in your career, especially in healthy eating. You've been in a lot of food shows here in the Pacific that we have watched. Thank you for that. You've been a beacon for a lot of us as far as healthy living is concerned. And I would like to go back to those days and bring it forward. The lessons learned from COVID, and of course, your crusade that you set out on. Can you just take us to the beginning? Why did you come out in such a strong way against the mandates that the government had actually, made into law, that we all be vaccinated, given the situation at the time? Yeah.
Thank you, Tukini. First of all, thank you for having me here today. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to come and share to the people of Fiji. Going back, I came out of the Ministry of Health in 2012, and I entered the NGO. I became the associate director for an NGO out there in the West, Friend.
Friend, yes.
So I was at Friend from 2012 to 2018. And in that period, I did a lot of work in terms of community development projects, funded projects by international aid. And in 2017, I was voted in at the General Assembly in Wallace and Fortuna to become the Pacific Organic Community Chairman.
Yes.
And because I have been part of this organic organization, and we had an international enemy, if you like,
Okay.
The Gates Foundation.
Bill Gates Foundation?
Bill,
Gates.
yeah, then it was Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I believe it still is. Yeah.
It probably is.
So the organic world had the Gates Foundation as an enemy, and because of that, I had been following the Gates Foundation and their activities, especially with regards to its evolving an increasing influence in the World Health Organization. So by the time COVID happened, the Gates Foundation was the second biggest funder to the World Health Organization.
We're talking huge bucks.
We are talking huge bucks.
Serious money.
The top funder to WHO is the US.
The top funder.
Yes.
United States of America.
United States of America. And the second is an NGO called
the Gates Foundation.
The Gates Foundation.
Wow.
So he had started, well, not he, but his organization had started funding a lot of reforms.
Yeah. Okay.
And those reforms included, not limited to, but included changes in the international health regulations, which regulates a lot of health issues globally, especially when it comes to diseases of international concern, like outbreaks and epidemics. And so the Gates Foundation has also been funding researchers that had to do with flus and flu-like illnesses over the years. So when COVID was coming up in the horizon, I had already known because we had been following. Because the Gates Foundation has an investment side to that organization that also makes big investment portfolios in the agriculture sector. In the pesticide and weedicide production, in genetically modified foods. And so those are issues of high priority for us in the organic world when it comes to, looking after people's health.
Absolutely.
Because everybody eats.
And
everybody is exposed to chemicals. And so that was our... So when the COVID vaccination happened, I had known a lot of information that I thought at the time was a bit too much for the general public in Fiji. And so when the COVID hit out, a lot of the measures taken by the government of the day at the time and the Ministry of Health was to do with general public health measures, lockdowns, social distancing. So those are known measures to us. The efficacy of those measures are well known to us. Until it came to the vaccination. Even when the vaccination started, I saw that the Ministry of Health was utilizing common health promotion and marketing approaches, like using influencers in society, church leaders or faith-based organization leaders, sports stars. So those are common health promotion measures to us, and I agreed with it. This is the way to go. You promote a health intervention. Let the people decide. It was until the former Prime Minister announced in Parliament that there is going to be a no jab, no job mandate.
No jab, no job policy.
That's when I felt, no, I'm not going to turn a blind eye on this. So that's...
Then you started making your
That's when I started making my stances and my broadcasts. My main aim was to educate the public on the rights that they have. These are the same rights that we apply in the surgical operating theater. You have mentioned that I have worked in trying to prevent diabetic amputations.
Yes, exactly.
So even in the situation where a patient, we know that the patient has come in too late. If we don't cut off the limb, they will die. We'll present all that to the patient and the family. At the end of the day, it is still up to the patient to decide. At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's still their decision.
We will make it in our power to explain all the positives and the negatives about the intervention, surgery, medicines, and all of that. At the end of the day, the patient...
The choice is still with us, with the patient.
So it has to be a well-informed choice or decision. And that's what I decided to educate the public on, that those principles still remain.
You did also mention in our discussions prior to this that there, of course, there's a constitutional clause somewhere there that that
Yes,
gives
in the bill,
rights,
in the Bill of Rights.
in the Bill of Rights. Can you just
So in our Bill of Rights, is the first part to it is the chapter on the right to life.
Yeah.
And everyone has the right to life, the right to access livelihood, and all those, if you read in the Constitution. But then there's a clause immediately after that that says that this right to life can be forfeited on certain circumstances.
What are those circumstances?
And one of those is if a medical intervention is proven to prevent the spread of an infectious disease.
Like a pandemic.
Like a pandemic, like a viral pandemic.
Viral pandemic.
Like COVID.
Like COVID.
So that is why the lockdown, the social distancing, the masking, all those were, allowable by law, because that has proven, those measures have proven to prevent the spread.
To prevent the spread.
Of certain infectious diseases like a viral illness, like COVID. But when it came to the vaccination, the COVID vaccination, we all know that it wasn't tested, it wasn't trial. In actual fact, the trial is still going on now, so we are still finding out the true side effects of these COVID injections.
Even today.
Even today, yeah.
We'll be back with more. We're talking here to Dr. Chone Hawea, and we'll pick up on that conversation here on Current Affairs, My TV, right after this. Welcome back to Current Affairs with Tukini here on My TV. We're talking to Dr. Chone Hawea, a medical specialist, of course, proud doctor, and has been working with the United Nations. So we're talking here, Dr. Chone, about the onset of COVID and that clause in the Constitution, and how, even though we've come past that, the problem is they still haven't done enough research, and they're still developing those viruses.
Yes.
And that is why, in plain English, that particular clause that was used by the government did not quite hold water, because the intervention was not proven. Intervention, meaning the virus, was not proven to be appropriate. Or so in
reality, we are a small fly when it comes to what happens in the big scheme of things in the global arena.
Okay.
And because a lot of these decisions are made in the US mainly. A lot of the organizations or the pharmaceutical companies that produced the vaccines are US based or comes from the US. Actually, most of the top 20 that produce these vaccines. And so the decisions that are made there, we only, we get to be, it just impacts us at this level. We are at the receiving end. Yeah.
It's beyond our control?
Yes, in that sense, because otherwise the lockdown is an international, intervention. And so we have to lock down ourselves, and everywhere else we couldn't afford our vaccines, and so we were the beneficiaries of donations.
Yes, of donations
by these developed countries, put into a facility in the World Bank, the COVAX facility. And so we received our vaccinations through that pathway. We did not buy our own. And so,
Can I just cut across now, since you've
Yeah.
wonderfully brought us through all this. What's the story now with COVID now, and how we actually handle or cure it? It's almost like it never did happen, or what's
Yes.
the story?
Well, that's exactly it. Right now, it seems like COVID never happened, because there are now global crises. The one in Ukraine and Russia, the one in Israel and Gaza, that seems to be prioritized by global media and everyone else, and issues about COVID are now shifted to bottom shelf importance. But we are finding out a lot of young or premature deaths.
That's so true.
In Fiji.
Yeah.
Because we have those surveillance systems.
Yes. Okay.
For communicable diseases.
Right.
The ones that we have to alert the public immediately.
Right. Good.
The ones that we can alert the public on an annual basis or quarterly basis.
Yes.
So there is a need to do something like that with these NCD deaths.
Right.
That's been labeled as NCDs. Because the general public are more than aware now of what's happening around the globe and elsewhere, because of the internet and availability of information.
I have to, before the record, commend your work that you have been doing in the height of that the COVID debate. It seems like it never happened. It seems like a movie watched once and we moved on. But your educating the public has caused a lot of conversation. It's caused a lot of, you put it out there in the public realm. Today, as we're making our way forward, and it seems to have never happened, I'm glad that you brought this up about this, I think, what are they calling these cancers today? I mean, with
Turbo cancer.
turbo cancer, where it takes a much shorter period from the first, what do you call it?
Diagnosis
To death. Eh?
to death. Yeah.
Only a couple of months.
Yes.
That, heart attacks, like you're saying, so many going at the age in their 30s, in their 40s.
20s even.
20s even. So a call for investigations here on Current Affairs by Dr. Hawe here. And of course, I believe that the Ministry of Health and the powers that be should probably take heed of this. Now, moving forward, looking back as we move forward, you didn't get much support from your health fraternity when you were taken in by the law back then. I noticed how the silence was deafening.
It was, and it was at that time for me. I felt really alone, but also people need to consider the fact that most of my colleagues were either working for government or working for a private facility or running a private facility of their own, and to show alignment with me would have been detrimental on their career. And we were also not allowed, there wasn't much availability of time and space for us to come together as an institution, as colleagues, to discuss these things. And it just hit us all of a sudden. And we were all in our own silos. I had the fortunate, I was fortunate to be my own boss at the time. So the no jab, no job did not affect me. I cannot sack myself, so, and I wasn't running a clinic. I was basically doing consultancy for organizations. So I had the luxury of being a free person to say what I can say. And so I understand how my colleagues, made a decision, because at those kind of times when it's when it comes to crisis, it's family first.
Yeah, true.
You know,
Especially in time of crisis. Yeah.
and you know, I have no grudges or hard feelings about that. We have met again now, and we are all looking back, and we all
Lessons
share.
learned?
Yes, we agree that we all learned something,
Yeah.
a thing or two, and we are glad that that is over. We have now come back stronger together.
True.
It showed the need to be together, to work together, to share, and to have a common goal, but you know, work together. Eh?
You know, Doc, let's just take a break for a while here, and we'll come back with more. You're watching Current Affairs here on my TV as we talk to Dr. Chone Hauea. Thank you for joining us here on Current Affairs on my TV. Now, as we go into our picks of the week this week, happy Diwali to you from all of us here in the team. As we know, we celebrate the victory of good over evil as we join our family, who are, of course, our Hindustani family, who are celebrating Diwali all over the world. And I believe it is an opportunity for us all here in Fiji to look within ourselves and to also, you know, re-examine the way that we live, the way we relate to our families, within our families, and the way that we relate to each other and the wider community without any prejudices. No matter what background, what religion, what creed your fellow citizen may have. Happy Diwali to you from all of us here at my TV. Here are some pictures because, of course, the municipal towns and their markets have been celebrating days before Diwali. Today, we took our camera out on the streets, and here are some shots as they have already decorated their stalls and dressed the part, and of course, celebrated Diwali. When we come to you next week, it will be, of course, after the Diwali celebrations. You have a blessed Diwali from all of us here. We also have been watching the conflict over in Israel and, of course, Palestine. And it has been interesting how the calls have been made for peace, or at least a break in the conflict. Obviously, looking from the point of view of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, he believes that he should secure the whole place and minimize the threat, even probably down to zero, before he hands it over to these peace efforts. I believe that it is you and I's duty to just pray for peace. Pray for the people of Israel, pray for the people of Palestine, pray for them all, especially in the region, as there's a lot of warmongering. Wars and rumors of war. If it does ring a bell with you, you know exactly what I mean. So let us all please work towards that in our own prayers as we pray for humanity and the need for peace. Because wars do not really resolve anything. You're watching pictures here from the Israeli conflict. Some of these pictures may be disturbing. I would like to take note of the fact that by the end of the month we have a shortened period in Parliament. Of course, Parliament's next sitting is going to be so much shorter because government has decided they have a lot more time to do the work of governance. They'll be heading off to their very serious commitments locally, regionally, and internationally. So be interesting to see how that pans out. What is our pick for this week is the serious break-ins that have been going on. That's been a very big wave of break-ins. We're nearing Christmas, people. So we're asking you to please secure your homes and secure your goods, especially if you're going to be leaving the house. Please look after your goods. This has been coming up with the mainstream media. They have been covering how many people have been involved in this bigger increase in home invasions. Huh? People are raising concerns about that, and the office of the DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, has said that there's cash and assorted items ranging from 15 to 20,000 500 stolen based on the stats that have been released for the month of October. So let's take extra precaution. That's our picks of the week here on Current Affairs. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's go right back to our special guest here on the show, Dr. Chone. However, as we're rounding up our show this evening, we would like you to bring up what are your main concerns as a medical, specialist. We're going forward in your what we know that you have stood for, and what are your main concerns looking forward with our lessons learned from the COVID pandemic and how we have, dealt with it or not. So could you please share with us your thoughts?
So after the COVID, a few main points I have realized. One is there is nothing there to protect medical professionals like me when it comes to crisis. Yeah. Because doctors, unlike other professionals, do not usually go on strike, or it's part of the oath that we take. And but what is there to protect? Medical professionals, individuals, yes. So that their human rights are protected and not violated. I wouldn't want what happened to me to happen to somebody else, and so it'll be good for the authority, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services, and the government of the day to ensure that that does not happen again. Also, what is there in learning from the COVID? What is there to ensure that such a violation of human rights in terms of a mandating of a medical intervention like the COVID vaccine from happening again? What measures can we put in place to ensure that should something like that happen again, God forbid, that the whole nation and the whole of the people of Fiji are protected, their rights are protected, and the such forceful mandates are never repeated, and human rights are maintained and protected. And also, what are we going to do about the obvious surge in premature deaths?
Yes.
What are we going to do in terms of investigating, analyzing this information, educating the public about it, but more so, how can we implement health and well-being interventions to make sure that we are much healthier, better protected physically, should another incident like COVID happen again.
God forbid. God forbid. And on that note, Doc, I would like to thank you so much for coming in today. And I know we've had a half an hour that has just flown. And thank you for your time and also for sharing your perspectives with us, especially moving forward. Good luck in your future endeavors from all of us here, the team on the show. So that was our current affairs here on My TV from me and the whole team. Have a happy Diwali and have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Good night.